Welcome to episode 47 of Amari Purple Talk, a Prince podcast where I share my thoughts on the purple musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, your imagination funk soloist, and let's get started. Today we're talking the gold experience. Will we ever see it? Will we ever get a copy that's not $30 or $300? Will this be the black album for the newbies? Let's talk about it. All right, so the Gold Experience, which is Prince's 17th official album, came out in 1995, had been recorded at least beginning part of 1993, had gone through a lot of changes. This is the period where Prince, dissatisfied with Warner Brothers Records, wanted out of his contract, finessed his way by changing his name to an unpronounceable symbol, still recording lots and lots of songs. Originally wanted this album to come out at the same time as a Prince named album, the album Come, wanted that and the Gold Experience to come out the same day. Warner Brothers said no. Brother was ahead of his time because many years later, folks like Beyonce, Kanye West, a few others have dropped two different albums. Not a double album, folks, but two different albums the same day. But back in the mid-90s, record companies wasn't having it. So basically this album got stalled out for the better part of a year. The Come album came out first in 1994. Then the Gold Experience dropped in 1995. So, and of course with most legendary Prince albums, I did go through a lot of different changes as far as sequencing of songs. However, the reason why we're not getting it today, if you notice, if you go on your streaming platforms to listen to the album, there's one song that is missing. That song, of course, being The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, which was Prince testing the waters of independence by releasing the song as a single, putting it out on an independent label. Warner's did give him the okay to do that, thinking that this isn't going to work. He's going to fall flat on his face. He's going to realize he needs us more than we need him, and he'll come crawling back to being Prince again. However, turned out to be one of his biggest hits that he had in quite a few years. So, with that being said, Warner Brothers said, well, okay, we'll release the Gold Experience, but we want to have The Most Beautiful Girl in the World on it. So Prince eventually agreed to adding that to the track listing. The album, again, was subsequently released and turned out to be one of his strongest albums of the 90s. However, since then, there's two Italian songwriters by the name of Bruno Bergonzi and Michelle Vincino. They claimed that The Most Beautiful Girl in the World was plagiarized by a song that they wrote. The song was called Taking Me to Paradise. It was published by Warner Chappell Publishing, the Italian branch office of the publishing company. It was recorded by an artist named Renard J, which is a pseudonym of someone called J. Rolandi. The song, it wasn't a big hit, but it did appear on a number of compilations that were distributed internationally and continues to appear in different DJ remixes. So to kind of keep a long story short with this, they took their case to court. And the thing with Italian courts, things kind of tend to drag on for a very long time. So as of 2016, the Italian court ruled that the 1994 hit, The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, was plagiarized from a 1983 song written by the two Italian songwriters. All right, so the Prince Estate, I would assume, definitely playing hardball, and which is a very strategic move, well-played move by the estate to omit The Most Beautiful Girl in the World from the Gold Experience. So as of now, there's no airplay on that song. There's no streaming, no digital purchase, therefore translating into absolutely zero, zilch, nada royalties for these two, and thus hemming up a reissue again of one of Prince's best post Warner Brother classic era albums. The Gold Experience is indeed a favorite amongst a lot of Prince collectors, Prince fans. I enjoyed the album on its release, although my personal criticisms was that I wish it was released the same day as the Come album. I wish they were both released simultaneously. I think the benefit of having it been released a year early would have built more momentum. It would have been an even bigger hit. The album was only certified gold, and really that's just due to the fact that Prince was having issues with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers was having issue with him. So the promotion just wasn't there. Like a couple of the songs were performed on Soul Train a year before the album came out. I also remember the American Music Awards, the Award of Merit. I think that was also in '94. And during that performance, you got some snippets of the Gold Experience then. And again, you're thinking like, oh, wow, new album coming. But then nothing. Like I said, you got the Come album. You even got the Black album. But the Gold Experience took a lot longer to come out. But still, it's one of his strongest albums of the 90s. Definitely. It was a critical success. And it should have done a lot better than what it did. But in a lot of memories of Prince fans, including mine, it's a very great one to revisit and listen to. So the fact that we don't have a reissue of it, I really honestly believe that had it not been for this ruling in the case, that we would have gotten this album with the reissues of Chaos and Disorder and Emancipation. Now, what we did get was and I've always called it a buffer. If you remember, right around the time of the release, this is actually when we actually started the Amari Purple Talk show. If you remember that I always felt that the release of the Versace Experience, I think it went from being a one-off record store day release to which it should have just been regulated to that. And I think it should not have just come out on a cassette. It should have been both cassette and CD. Again, had it not been for this lawsuit, I think the Versace Experience should have just been a record store day release. But I think because of this lawsuit, the Versace Experience on CD became a bit of what I call a buffer. meaning that, and no ill will to the estate or Sony. It's a business decision, I feel, in light of this lawsuit, they just had to do. Because, like I said, there's quite a few songs on that definitely newbies and just fans of the songs on that album. There's different versions, different mixes of it, but that is a favorite era of a lot of Prince fans. And at least if those that did not originally have a copy of the Versace Experience, like myself, this was an opportunity to obtain a piece of history from that particular period. So again, a pretty good business move to put that out in lieu of having the gold experience. Again, it's heavy to have, so many songs on an album, but to go so far, and again, this is not personal, this is business, to go so far to just, withhold an entire album up because of one song, because you got, and look, let's put it this way. My personal opinion, and now granted, I'm an artist myself. I've written things, myself. So I get it, I get it. And I mean, there's tons of things, I've sent things in, or somebody's heard something that I've done, a tape or something, and, maybe an idea popped up somewhere, but it's not enough, or it's not enough notes for me to go, oh, they stole my song, I'm going after them. I've heard this Taking Me to Paradise, and while there may be some, to me, and this is just me and my ears, there are some similarities in some of the arrangement. There's some similar notes going on. But to me, this is not enough to say that this is a blatant ripoff of their song. Honestly, if anybody would have had a problem with the song "The Most Beautiful Girl," it would have been Charlie Rich. I don't know who wrote the song, that country song from the 70s, because that is more similar than this piece of garbage here. This is if you go back and look up Charlie Rich, "The Most Beautiful Girl in the World," it starts off, "Could you be the most beautiful girl in the world?" That is more similar. But I think where, I thought when that came out, or when Prince's song came out, I thought there would be a lot of hassle with the Charlie Rich song. But I would fathom a guess, because now, as we found out with Purple Rain, that had some similarities to a Journey song, that Prince went out of his way to contact Journey and say, look, I wrote this song called Purple Rain. Sounds a lot like your song. Are you cool with that? So, I would assume that something similar may have happened in that particular case, because there's no Charlie Rich sues Prince. And like I said, that song was just as big of a song in the 70s than Prince's song in 1993. But this, like I said, this, it's nothing. It's a really nothing song. And it is a very, ridiculous bullshit move, by these two. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I have never been to Italy. I've never lived there. I don't know anything about their music scene. But, if they ain't had nothing going on over here, then, it doesn't belittle them or talent or anything otherwise. But from where I'm sitting, from this point of view, Prince in 1993, people. Prince in 1993, who has had a gazillion hits, would not be victim to such a ridiculous lawsuit. I know there was one point where his sister was trying to sue for "You Got the Look" because it sounded like a song she wrote, cooking in my book or something like that. I forget what the song is. There's families that have those type of beefs and those type of sort of rows, and I guess that would be normal, but that was even more expected. You would almost expect that a little bit, doesn't make it right, but it's like, okay, cool. Prince's dad was a musician. So, and again, there's very few people on the planet that would have the musical, power that Prince had. But you would assume on some level, like Tyka had some musical ability, it was pretty decent. So you would think some other family members would have a little something as well, and that's understandable. That is understandable. But this is like, oh, we're going to cash in, try to cash in, it sounds like our song. And it's like, nah, this cat doesn't need to necessarily steal, like I said, we all know the history. We all know this man's resume. And it's a ridiculous lawsuit. Ridiculous. And the fact that an Italian court, of course, after the fact of Prince's death, decides to rule in these two cats' favor. That's just, to me, it's a money grab all the way around. And like I said, it's a very smart move by the estate, a very smart move by Sony, or the two of them decided, the Sony lawyers got together with the estate and said, look, or whoever made the decision, brilliant business move. Like everybody's saying now, this isn't checkers, this is chess. But however, the biggest losers in this equation are the fans. This is, like I said, this is one of his most important albums next to anything he's done in his classic period. It's a legendary album. It's an album that I think deserves to see the light of day. And it's being held out, because of two greedy so-and-sos. But guess what? There's so many million, well, not million, but there's so much Prince music that, look, bottom line, the estate isn't going to be losing any pennies because Most Beautiful Girl isn't on it. The Prince machine is still rolling. We're getting, we got 1999 Super Deluxe. We're getting Sign of the Times Super Deluxe. There's so many more classic albums that have been every single song untouched by controversy, untouched by, greed on this level. That machine is going to keep rolling. And meanwhile, like I said, I don't know what the music scene is like over there in Italy. I don't know if these two cats have ever had a hit or wrote a hit for anybody, or if they've even gotten any money. But to me, I feel it's almost like, the, anybody that tries to cash in on anything, it's like they've got nothing of substance. So they stoop to this type of treachery and deceit to try to cash in. And like I said, it even though the lawsuit had been going on for a while, I find it somewhat ironic and perplexing that after Prince's death, that a court was able to rule. I think that if he had still been alive, he still had his legal team in place, that I think that this obviously would have gone the other way. And I definitely think, these cats would have come up short. But universe has a way of balancing things out. So it's like they still coming up short. But it kind of brings it all back home to, now what do you do with this album? And I'm sure that is a question that the estate and Sony are really sitting down to try to. I'm sure it probably just comes up almost daily. Like, okay, we can come out with, 2021, we're getting the classic album masters back. I'm sure they can hit the ground running and say, cool, let's go on and drop that Around the World in a Day deluxe edition. Let's go on and drop that. Or it's like, okay, what was the last thing that Prince was working on? Are there enough songs we can compile and say, look, this is the absolute last Prince studio album? They can say, hey, let's go on and drop this piano and microphone live, because even that was on deck at some point to come out. So there's a lot of projects that Sony could come out with. But at some point, and like I said, this is, again, it's ironic. This was Prince's period of fighting for his independence. This was when the battle lines were drawn. This is when it was almost at its zenith. Like right around 94, 95 was when it really just became this bitter, ugly battle between him and the record company, and fighting to get things out, or Warner Brothers putting things out, and it's like, well, Prince is putting some distance from it. And it's ironic that of all albums is hemmed up again over some music industry mess. So I'm sure at some point, as they're going down their list of projects for 2021, 2022, even maybe 2023, where at one point can you put out the Gold Experience? Can you even put it out and call it that still? Now, I mean, you can, if you look at the history of the album, and if you go to princevault.com and look up the Gold Experience, this website is great. It really has some informative information regarding a lot of Prince's studio albums, unreleased stuff, live shows. But a lot of times in the case of something like the Gold Experience, that had gone through so many phases of sequencing that, you can look forward to a super deluxe version on this alone. But if you look at if you go there and you look at the earliest configuration on it, at the time it was not even called the Gold Experience. It may have been called the Gold Album. But if you look at that list of songs, now of course things like, there's only one, Space, which ended up on the Come album, and Repop Go to Zipper, which ended up on Crystal Ball. I mean, if you could, you could release this version, because it looks like it's the only configuration of that album that does not have the Most Beautiful Girl in the World on it. So you can either substitute that with, I don't know if you want to pull a ballad from that era. I think there's, let's see, Angie, if I'm not mistaken. This song is, let's see if I click on it. Okay. I think this was a cover of the Rolling Stones hit, if I'm not too mistaken. You could do that. There's a cover of Larry Graham's The Jam that was part of this. And again, there's other configurations of it. Like I said, some songs ended up on Come. Some songs actually ended up on the Crystal Ball compilation in '98. There's a configuration that has Chaos and Disorder on it. Right the Wrong. So, but each one of those still has The Most Beautiful Girl in the World as its, kind of like almost its centerpiece. Because of Warner Brothers' insistence on having this on the album. Again, if you just had to address this particular release, how do you get these versions, these sort of final cuts that made up the gold experience, and what could you drop in? Could you still call it that? Yes, maybe you could still call it the gold experience. It won't be the same gold experience that any of us that were around in 94 and 95, it won't be that gold experience. I mean, you can put out a compilation that would feature those songs. I don't know. It could be a single CD. It could be almost a double CD where you could put out those songs. You could put out the first version of Come. You could put that on there. There's other songs, like I said, from the original configuration. There's a song that I don't think a lot of people, including myself, have not heard. A song called Strength. That could go on there. You can put in this Angie. You could put on The Jam. Go ahead, put on Acknowledge Me, Interactive. Studio version of Days of Wild. I mean, you can, like I said, a single CD or a double CD, and just encapsulate the songs that were recorded during this period from, let's see, the earliest recording was around September of 1993. And let's see, went on into March of 1994. So, like I said, that covers a lot of ground. So there's stuff, like I said, that ended up on Come, stuff that ended up on Chaos and Disorder, some stuff I think might have even ended up on Emancipation too, if I'm not too mistaken. But again, a single CD, double CD, you can call it the Gold Experience if you want. You could call it something else, but what would really make something like that work would be when you do the booklet for the CD, and you can have the lyrics. You can have somebody just write up a history of these sessions and the historical significance of these sessions, and address the omission of The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. And again, it won't be our gold experience that we remember. Like I said, if you were around in 94, 95, even if you're a newbie that came along much later, and somehow you got a copy of it, and it became, if not your favorite Prince album, one of your favorite Prince albums. Again, if it's a copy that you had and no longer have, yeah, like I said, it won't be the same thing. You'll get the other songs as you remember them, those particular final mixes. And as a bonus, like I said, just do something just covering that period from September 93 to March 94. And just throw in everything. Make it a 2 CD or even like a little small box set, maybe 3 CDs if there's enough material. But just historically a complete document of that era, that 93 to 94 or to 95. Have your liner notes, just explain the significance, what he was going through at that point, what a lot of these songs meant, because a lot of it was self-reflection, a lot of it was, talking about what he was dealing with, fighting for freedom. And again, address that omission of the most beautiful girl in the world. And have it pictures of the original CD, the extended versions, the remixes, that CD. Have some photos of the video shoot and the significance of that video shoot. And who knows? Maybe one day there'll be a lawyer clever enough to work it out to get that song back into circulation. Who knows? But I mean, again, an Italian court ruled, and so far that ruling stands. I don't know if there's an appeal by the estate in the works. But as for now, like I said, they're playing the game well. And a lot of us missed that song, but fortunately, a lot of us still have a copy of the Gold Experience. I also have the remix CDs. I still have that CD. So at least I can go back and listen to it. But like I said, if you're new to the equation and you want to hear that song and you don't know anyone that has it, then, you're out of luck and you're missing out on a pretty good tune. It's, kind of Motownish, kind of temptation-y a little bit. I mean, the hook, like I said, it does harken back to that Charlie Rich, but, you do get some sweet soul. You don't get no country. You just, after the hook, you get some pretty good soul. And it was also performed live quite a bit during this period and during the Emancipation Tour, the Love for One Another tour, too. So, that's going to be a challenge, too. If you want to come out with the live CD, you're going to have to omit that song from the playlist, too. Who knows? There have been some concerts. I know we've discussed at one point, I think it was the shows in Miami from 94. There is a particular set where that song was not performed, because that was done over 3 nights. And I think one of those nights, at least, that song was dropped from the set list for that particular night. So I think, again, the workaround would be Sony probably releasing that one day. You never know. So again, this is what to do with the Gold Experience. And I think that's my particular take, is just don't even try to do another buffer. Don't even try to do a single CD and call it the Gold Experience and pretend like it's not the same album. I think Sony and the estate should just do just a serious compilation of that era. Just make it a box set, make it a 2 CD thing, whatever's commercially viable. Box set idea sounds a little bit better to me, but I wouldn't mind like a 2 CD thing and just really just hammer it home and just give you a good set of liner notes, lots of great photographs from that era, and just really have a page discussing the omission of the most beautiful girl in the world and why. And, hopefully that one day, that might be the one Prince album that, it'll be 10 years, 20 years later, and we'll finally get it, who Lord knows what we'll be listening to. Hopefully there's still physical media in 20 years. Like I said, I learned my lesson with vinyl. So hopefully it'll still be CDs then, or they'll come back. Vinyl should still be around, we hope. So I don't know, who knows? One day, 20 years from now, 10 years, 20 years, it'll come back. We'll finally get the official reissue, and all of us will be there to get it. And for those people that will be young in 20 years time, they'll be getting in on the ground floor of a classic. So, and a really historical chunk of Prince's life, probably one of the most important since starting in the music business. So that's my particular take on it. What's most important is, what do you guys think about it? Do you miss the gold experience? Did you have a copy and you need another one, and you don't want to pay $30 for it? You don't want to pay $300 for it? You want a reissue of it at a good, decent price? You want it reissued on vinyl, and you want it with the most beautiful girl in the world? Or, since you know that that's something we may never see, what would be a good substitute? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And that is going to conclude it for this week. And as always, you can find me on social media, Twitter at RichardCole_now, and on Instagram at RichardCole_Amari. Be sure to visit my website, AmariCommunications.com. Pick up some Amari Purple Talk merchandise, t-shirts, coffee mugs. There's some other cool Amari style merchandise to get as well. So by all means, check that out, and check out some of my past work, upcoming work, and let's stay safe, stay healthy. People, by all means, wear your mask. Look, let's not make this a political thing, because we all really don't know who the major players are, and let's not take any chances. Let's cover all of our bases. Let's just mask up. If there's some cool stuff, you can still do it and just look cool. Just do that, but let's respect everybody. Let's wear our masks. By all means, also too, if if there's some suckers out there, look, vitamin up, protect your immune system, so you can block some of these assassins out here. These unwitting assassins out here, you can dodge them. So by all means, let's stay safe, and let's be together as one planet. Let's keep speaking up, speaking out. There's still a lot of crazy stuff. There's still a lot of stuff that hasn't, even seen the wheels of justice start turning yet. So by all means, let's keep speaking up, speaking out. Again, thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. On the podcast platform, we have reached our over 2,000 unique downloads. Thank you all. And as always, let's keep it purple and on the one.